Climate change is often presented as an environmental problem, but it is much more than that. It is existential threat that directly undermines food security, water access, global economy, and peace. It is quite literally the climate multiplier, worsening every other challenge we face. Our presentation today focuses on Sustainable Development Goal 13, Climate Action, a goal officially titled Take Urgent Action to Combat Climate Change and its Impact. This isn't just one of 17 global goals, it is arguably the most urgent one, and you'll soon see why. But before we go further to our main discussion, let's know first what is climate change. So, what exactly are we talking about when we say climate change? In simple terms, it refers to long term shifts in temperature and weather patterns, but the climate has always varied naturally. The changes we've seen since 1800s are overwhelmingly driven by the human activity. The main culprit is the burning of fossil fuels, coals, oil, and gas for energy. This releases massive amounts of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, trapping heat and warming the planet. The core effects are severe and already being felt globally. First, we're seeing extreme weather becoming more frequent and intense, leading to more severe droughts, greater floods, and dangerous heat waves. Second, rising sea levels are a direct consequence of melting glaciers and ice sheets, which threatens coastal communities worldwide. Third, the ocean is warming and absorbing excess, leading to ocean acidification, which is devastating critical marine life like coral reefs. Fourth, ultimately, these changes have been a tremendous impact on life. They disrupt agriculture, threaten water supplies, and accelerate the extinction of plant and animal species. So as we can see in the pictures, it is devastating hurricanes, wildfire, extreme heat, floods, and disruption of daily life. These are the direct symptoms of planet immense stress. And this brings us back to our focus SDG 13. So the importance of this goal cannot be overstated. We can summarize its crucial role in three key points. First, it is the foundation of all other SDGs, the climate multiplier. Climate change doesn't happen in a vacuum. It directly undermines every other sustainable development goal, from ending poverty and hunger to ensuring clean water and healthy ecosystem. If we fail in the climate, we fail in everything else. Second, it addresses an existential and urgent threat. As we've seen, and threat is no longer distant, it's here. This goal represents the international community unified call to address a genuine crisis of our time. Third, it demands a transformative global shift. Achieving this goal requires massive, systematic changes in how we produce energy, grow food, build cities, and consume resources. It requires action now, not later. So the path forward is challenging, but it is clear. We must urgently shift away from fossil fuels, invest in renewable energies, and our natural carbon sinks like forests and oceans. PG-13 isn't just about reducing emission, it's about building resilience. Targets 13.1 and 13.2 emphasize strengthening adaptive capacity to climate-related disasters and integrating climate measures into all national policies and planning. Climate action must be foundational, not an afterthought. Target 13.3 focuses on building knowledge and capacity to meet climate change, a critical need for effective action. The means of implementation, target 1.A and 13.B center on institutional support implementing the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and promoting mechanisms to raise planning and management capacity in developing countries. Challenges. So first, insufficient ambition. So it is a collectively far from short the cuts needed to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Next, climate finance gap. Developed nations have struggled to meet their commitment to mobilize 100 billion annually for developing countries. Next is the equity divide. So, deep disagreement exists between developed countries, historically responsible for most emission, and developing countries over responsibility and making the deepest cuts. Next is the policy integration. Climate action often remains separate from core national economic and development plans, limiting transformative changes. Political and economic inertia. Powerful industries, especially fossil fuels and short term political cycles, resist rapid fundamental shifts away from carbon intensive economics. Next is capacity and knowledge gap. So many developing and small island states lacks of technical expertise and institutional capacity to effectively plan and implement large scales of adaptation projects.
So for this slide, we will talk about the key benefits of achieving SDG 13 climate action. First, climate action leads to major public health benefits. When we shift to clean and renewable energy, air pollution decreases significantly. This reduces cases of asthma, lung disease, heart problems, and even premature deaths. So climate action isn't only about protecting the environment, it literally saves lives. Second, SDG 13 opens huge economic opportunities. Investing in renewable energy, sustainable transport, and green technologies creates new industries and billions of jobs. It helps countries modernize their economies and become globally competitive. So climate action can actually fuel economic growth rather than hinder it. Third, stronger climate action increases the resilience of communities. By improving infrastructure, building early warning systems, and preparing for disasters, we can reduce damage from typhoons, floods, and droughts. This protects homes, livelihoods, and entire communities, especially in vulnerable countries like the Philippines. Fourth, SDG 13 helps reduce inequality. Climate change hits the poorest communities the hardest because they have fewer resources to adapt. By supporting climate programs and sustainable development, we uplift vulnerable groups and promote fairness and social justice. Finally, climate action improves energy security. Relying on renewable energy sources like solar and wind reduces dependence on imported fossil fuels. This makes a country more stable, more independent, and less affected by global price shocks. Now, here are some actions that we can personally and collectively take to support SDG 13. First, reduce our carbon footprint. We can save energy at home, use public transport, reduce meat consumption, and choose local sustainable products. Next, we can advocate for climate friendly policies. We can support leaders and companies that promote strong climate action and encourage schools to include climate education in the curriculum. Lastly, build awareness and resilience. We can educate our families and friends about climate change, participate in local activities like tree planting, and support organizations working on climate adaptation and mitigation. In summary, SDG 30 not only benefits the planet, It improves our health, strengthens our economy, protects communities, reduces inequality, and gives us a more secure future. And all of us have a role in making this possible.